There's so much happening around immigration that is so hard to keep up, Jose. But let's break it down together. But before that, it's super hot. I can't believe you're making me do this here. I know you're not making me.
Best.
But I know you like it, I don't. So given that, I thought of a question about, before we get into the minutia of immigration, thinking about the yin and yang, what are some of the, like, I would say that if you have to describe your personality about the yin and the yang, like what are some opposite personalities that you have?
I'm very reckless, but at the same time, I'm very cautious.
Okay, that's your yin and your yang, reckless and cautiousness.
Yourself?
I would say that I've been told that I'm very like high energy and bubbly, but on the other side, when I'm like on the work mode, it's like serious. So I think that those are my two yin and yang, serious and bubbly. Okay, let's get to it. We have so many segments to cover. We're going to be talking about three main components. Administrative closed cases. We're just going to do a quick recap. We have already promoted and given you some ways that you can get involved so then you don't get caught up in the system. Two, we're going to be talking about floating the zone. If you have heard that on the news, if you don't know what we're talking about, we're going to break it down. And last but not least, we're going to be discussing a couple of changes on what are seen benefits for undocumented folks, specifically around the Head Start program and other examples. And then we're going to end it up and wrap it up with a story that has been really heartbreaking, at least for me to hear about. So we'll be talking about all of that. So make sure you stay through the end and then you watch it. But let's talk about the first one, Jose. We did a couple of days ago, we made a post on our social media, so it's still out there. You can watch it. It's technically really talking about administrative closed cases, and we encourage people to talk to an attorney to verify if they have ever had their case or the case of a loved one administratively closed. Can you give us a quick recap about what people should be paying attention to and what is the difference? And I know that they can go into a graphic to look more of the details, but just give us a little bit of an update. What has happened since and what do you want people to know?
Yeah, in late May, AILA, the American Immigration Lawyer Association, put up a post that we were able to collaborate with several immigration attorneys here in the state of Arizona, saying that ICE had moved to a recalendar about 400,000 cases that were administratively closed. What that means is there were cases that were reopened. And a lot of those people had DACA recipients, U visa, other type of reliefs. Here in the state of Arizona, it's estimated to be around 8,000 cases. A large percentage of those are from the Arpaio worksite rates that were the illegal Arpaio worksite rates that ICE decided not to pursue them because the way they were able to get in contact with those individuals was to an illegal activity that Sheriff Joe Arpaio did when he conducted those raids. We put up a link. We'll also probably put it up on this video as well in case you have your alien number, your A number, to be able to check if your case has been reopened. The concern that people have said is like, oh, I got a letter already from ICE saying that my case has been recalendar, but I go online and check in the system and it's not updated. So we talked to several people, several of our Congress and senators, and it's a widespread issue regarding administration where they haven't been able to keep up the ICE locator where individuals are in detention, or in this case, cases who have been reopened. So we'll put the link, keep trying, but we understand that if it might not be up to date because the administration has not prioritized this specific service.
So for people who are directly impacted by this or have loved ones who are directly impacted by this is not the time to procrastinate. This is not the time to not talk to an attorney. We are not legal professionals, so it's really critical that you do talk to an attorney. If money is a barrier, there are a couple of limited but pro bono cases, especially linked to the consulate offices. Go check out our website at alientoic.org/resources to making sure that you are connected to an immigration attorney if you do not have one. It's really important that you're staying up to date. And to be quite honest, what a waste of taxpayer numbers. These judges had already decided this, or ICE officers saying that these folks are not a threat to society. That's why their cases were administratively closed. But anyways, that's a topic for another day. Moving into the next segment, Jose. Flooding the zone. Mr. Voter Czar Tom Homan talked about that he was going to go forward and flood the zone. What the heck does that mean? Break it down for us, Jose. What is he talking about?
Well, fun fact, Mr. Homan got his start in ICE here in Arizona in the 1980s conducting worksite raids. So the stuff that
I don't think that that's a fun fact, bro.
well, I think for other people, in case they understand, is like a lot of the things that has been implemented by ICE is stuff that has been piloted in Arizona and other states.
So interesting fact.
Interesting fact, yes. Well, what they have said, at least in the press conference, in the press statement, is that ICE now that got, we talked about it last week, we double, triple the amount of budget to be able to hire individuals. They're going after liberal cities or sanctuary cities, and what they're planning is to do a similar effort they're doing in LA, nationwide, to think of cities like Chicago, New York, San Francisco. In Arizona will be Phoenix, Tucson, maybe Flagstaff, in order to increase and meet the 3,000 arrests per day number that Stephen Miller has set out for them.
So we knew that the current capacity of ICE is being limited. That's why they got all this money, because they want to be able to meet their quotas. So last time that we spoke, I remember you talked about that usually the bed quota that they have, it's about 40,000, meaning that that's the capacity that privately owned detention centers, where they're banking money out of the pain of undocumented folks and mixed immigration status families, have the capacity to put people in detention. Yeah. Where are we in the numbers right now as of July of 2025?
Yeah, at least the latest numbers were reported last week. We're a little bit, basically 57,000. So about 17,000 over the typical capacity. Again, also in the big beautiful bill that was signed by President Trump. It also expanded the amount of funding to now be 100,000 individuals. So that's why you hear in the news that they're trying to repurpose Alcatraz, thinking about Guantanamo Bay, have potentially refurbish or build temporary detention centers in the desert areas of Arizona, but also in Texas.
But Jose, he's only going after the bad ones, right? After the bad immigrants, according to immigration. Does the data back that argument? I know the answer, but please tell us.
Yeah, so out of the individuals who have been detained this fiscal year, 72% don't have a criminal conviction.
And, so over 70% people. That's ridiculous.
And only 1.5% of the individuals who are currently being detained, they actually, ICE is bringing a criminal conviction to it. So meaning close to 98% of the individuals, a little over 98%, don't have a criminal conviction or criminal charge. As most people understand, they are not necessarily criminals, but they are workers, their moms, their dads, their grandparents, their siblings. They are regular people that 5 years ago during the pandemic were essential workers, that we had celebrations, I remember, where people would bring out their pans and thank you for picking our food, thank you for serving us, thank you for keeping us alive. Now the government 5 years later has chosen to go after these people and arrest them, detain them, and some of them deport them, which you would have told me 5 years ago, I didn't think this would happen. It's heartbreaking because it just tells you how far we have fallen from as a society. That 5 years ago, we were celebrating that these people need to have a legal pathway. And now we're like, oh, let's arrest them and deport them, even though they don't have a criminal charge or they don't have what we consider to be doing anything bad.
Okay, Jose, thank you so much for sharing that. And out of those, I think it is important to highlight the top 5 states that are being impacted by this, where they're holding the most people detained. What are these top 5 states?
Yeah, you would guess Texas is number 1, right? Louisiana is number 2, Arizona is number 3, number 4 is California, number 5 is Georgia.
So definitely standing in solidarity with all these states that are being impacted. This is happening here in our backyard in Arizona. So it's something to stay vigilant. I think for me as a taxpayer, as an immigrant myself, as a DACA recipient, it's really infuriating that we're not finding solutions, because in one hand, definitely this government has shown that they don't really care about being fiscally responsible when they're willing to go and increase our deficit in that matter. And then it feels ironic, if I can be quite honest, that in one hand, we're investing all these resources, whereas you mentioned over 70% of the folks don't have a criminal conviction don't present a public threat to our society, but they're workers, they're providing, they're contributing. And then on the other hand, we have 3.5 million cases on the immigration backlog. And what we hear from these anti-immigrant folks is that, why don't people do it the right way? Guess what? People have been trying to do it the right way, but then you have 3.5 million people who are caught up and their cases are still pending. Well, with that said, because I'm getting riled up, Jose.
You're getting riled up?
I am getting riled up. I think it's this heat. I said I don't do so well in this heat. Let's talk about other things that are happening, about really close to my heart, education. There's been some new changes that are happening that are being litigated about what benefits the undocumented people can benefit from. Can you break down a little bit about what's going on and really zoom in and double click on Head Start?
Yeah. So right now, a couple of weeks ago, the Department of Education proposed a rule making amendment to IRA and PROGRA, which those are the 1996 laws that define federal public benefit for immigrants. And within that, specifically, they targeted post-secondary education, specifically adult learning. So think of literacy classes in colleges, current technical programs that some folks take advantage of. And then the Health and Human Services Department are targeted several other programs. Specifically, that we're focusing on is around Head Start. Right now, it's about upwards between 800,000 people who might be impacted by the new changes. In Arizona, it could be up to 15,000 individuals. Those are children under 5 years old that wouldn't be eligible for a Head Start program. And people are like, oh, how can that be if undocumented students can be able to enroll in a public education K-12? Again, it's K-12. The right has not been extended before kindergarten or post high school.
This is horrible. We'll be giving you more information around that. As Jose mentioned, there is a process that you actually can make your voice heard through comments. So be on the lookout. This is a little teaser. We're going to be talking about all the different programs that might be impacted if this were to become now the new interpretation. So be on the lookout. We'll give you more of the details and the technicalities on that in a way that you can make your voice be heard. We're going to be wrapping it up. Priscilla is holding down in the back end, telling us that we only have 3 minutes. We wanted to really share a little bit about these stories of impact that we've been discussing, about how people are getting caught up in this horrible immigration overhaul. And one of those individuals, it is a DACA recipient. His name is Javier Diaz Santana, who has a disability. He is deaf, and his best way of communicating is through sign language. He knows ASL, and something that has been really heartbreaking is that even despite him being a DACA recipient, he was detained. He was sent to Texas, a state that he didn't, he was not living. He was living in California. He was shipped to Texas. He was detained. His attorney couldn't get a hold of him. And despite of him having DACA, it was such a challenge to get him back home. Thankfully, he is now well and reunited with his family. But definitely, these are some of the stories that are happening. And we wanted to share with you all because sometimes we think that these are just numbers, but we're talking about real people that are being impacted, and that with this attempt of filling these quotas, we're seeing that ICE is not doing their due diligence and that they're just going after doing racial profiling. They have admitted that in national news, and it's just been heartbreaking. Anything that you want to add, Jose, in terms of this case or just kind of what we're seeing coming across our...
As you mentioned, ICE is going after everybody that's suspected to be in the country undocumented. And again, the vast majority are Latinos. The vast majority tend to be of darker complexion. So they're probably going to arrest individuals. So it's so key important for you to know your rights, be able to have a plan in case you're gone for a long, maybe 12 hours or 24 hours, something that your family or your attorney can get a hold of to advocate on your behalf. Because what we have seen is that ICE is not, sadly, they're not respecting people's civil liberties. And when people know their rights and they ask them, like, what are you detaining me for? What is your warrant? Any of that sort, they're not respecting that. So it's so important to have an attorney to be able to advocate and having those credentials.
So if you didn't pay attention in government class, we got you. We have your constitutional rights right in our website. Go and seek those resources. If you have more questions, make sure you drop them in the comment. If you have sensitive information, make sure you DM us instead of putting it on the comment box. And you know that you have a community here at Aliento. You're not alone, but I am getting the sign from Priscilla that we gotta wrap it up. So see you, and until next time.